Welcome to the Pop-Off with Gene FitzMagic and friends. Your daily sports and entertainment radio show, live all over the world. You're going to want to hear what these guys have to say. With their hot takes, recaps, previews, and predictions, sometimes these guys might get along, but most times, they won't. So see what happens when these guys pop off about the world of sports and entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pop-Off. It is Gene FitzMagic, Nigel Downer, and James Wudi. Today's going to be a little bit more of a prediction episode for us. As I wait, what do I see right now? What do I? Nigel, you caught. I see you with an AL East hat.
Listen, man. Listen, I got to, because right now we are doing our best to catch up because we're like 1.5 games out. So we're doing our best to catch up and getting that wild card. And also it's NFL prediction day, man. So I gotta do the mashup. So what I'm wearing is a Pittsburgh Jays mashup. Like right now, as you can see, if you can't see, you can just hear me vote because that's all you got. But you got the audio. So you got the Jays there, the angry Jays from the what was that? Late 90s, early 2000s. All right. But here is the mashup part, my friends. Look at that all-star patch. That is the PNC, that field there that the Pirates played at. So that's the logo for it. So boom, there you go. And you got the tone-on-tone New Era flag. You got the Batterman, the black and yellow Batterman. So yeah, man. Sorry, Gene. I had to do it, bro. I had to do it. You know what?
I got to take my spite away, actually, for the AL East. My Yankees are dogs. They've been playing like an old season. I gotta let you breathe. I gotta let you live.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. This might be my favorite Jays hat that you've ever worn, though. I like this Jays hat.
Oh, I got another one that's gonna be a special for Wudi and for Caleb. Gene, you're gonna love it just as much. But I have a couple that are in the chamber that I'm like excited to show you guys. I've worn them. They're fresh, and I gotta post more. I have so many photos that are gonna go up on the IG. But yeah, that's what's up.
Well, I look forward to it. You actually stopped me in my tracks.
I know.
I was saying how we're going to do a lot of predictions this week, this episode. Little AFC East, West, North, South, all the divisions of the AFC East. In the AFC. We'll be talking a little NFL MVP. And we'll be also talking about the rookies of the year. So our predictions on all that. We'll also be talking about what coaches are on the hot seat this upcoming season to start the season, already on the hot seat. But with that, let's turn our attention to the AFC East. Our predictions for the AFC East. Patty, can you throw up the last year's AFC East finals, the finalization of last year's? There we go. So the Bills 13-3, Miami 9-8, New England 8-9, Jets 7-10. Not exactly how I would have written it up last year, but that's how it ended up last year. Wudi, what do you got for the AFC East this year? What's your prediction for the AFC East?
So like 1 through 4?
1 through 4, man.
So obviously this is one of the toughest divisions in all of football, right? AFC East, NFC East, AFC North. We talk about it all the time. 4, good teams. Patriots really aren't that good, but we say that Belichick will probably get them 7 wins or so.
Yeah.
But they're gonna be dead last. There's no way. There's no way that the Patriots are anything but dead last. And you'll be surprised to hear 1, 2, 3. I think we probably all would have the Patriots dead last. Number 1, taking this year's division crown, an upset of sorts, right? Because I don't have the Bills, and the Bills have been winning every year in the post-Brady era. Because I think the Miami Dolphins will actually finish with the best record in the AFC East. It's not something that brings me joy, Gene. It's not something that.
Oh no, Gene's on the phone. Hold on. Who's he calling?
Call me after the show, Abby. This is
they're my least favorite team in the NFL. So this is not something that I'm looking forward to. But I think that this is their time. Like I feel like we saw last year what happened with Tua healthy at the helm. And then even without a healthy Tua, they still almost got a playoff win with a third string bum at QB. No disrespect to Skylar Thompson, even though I feel like that's kind of counter.
Fair to say.
I just called him a bum, but the Dolphins, they have everything in place, and now this is the second season I feel like chemistry matters, and that's something that people don't respect enough. At number 2, I have the New York Jets because of all the pieces that they've added. I do think that they're going to start slow, a combination of building chemistry and the strength of schedule, those first 6 games before the bye, but then they're going to find it late and be able to, secure a wild card. And then the Buffalo Bills, kind of a shocker, right? They've been number 1 all this time. I do have them still making the wild card. I think the AFC East will produce 3 playoff teams this year.
Okay.
But they will be third between injuries and just, not doing enough on offense. I feel like they've just been coasting with, Josh Allen and Diggs and that connection and expecting Gabe Davis to be anything more than just, a decent receiver. They've done a disservice. James Cook is not special. Like, they literally have no one special other than Diggs and Allen. And it's been enough to have exciting playoff games, but it's not enough to win a championship. And I think they're going to find that out for sure this year.
Well, you know what? I'm a little disappointed that you got the Jets coming in second. I'm not going to lie. But I do agree with you on one thing. I do have the Pats coming in last, but I also think they'll have a decent record, like you said. Belichick is good for 7 wins just in himself, right? He's going to be able to outmaneuver a bunch of teams that might be better than the Patriots, but because of Belichick, they're going to outmaneuver those teams. So I got the Patriots coming in last. In third place, well, I'll go back right to first. I did say the Jets. I do have the Jets coming in first. I think they will. I do agree. I think they'll get off to a rough start. I think there's a lot to – the schedule is a tough schedule the first 6 weeks of the season, and there is going to be that chemistry factor. With that, I think they finished 3-3 out of the first 6 before that bye week. I believe, and then they have the bye, I believe, right? Is it week 7 is the bye? Yes. So then they go – and then after that, I think they go on a run. They got the Giants coming out of the bye. I think they're a better team than the Giants. Forget about what these Giant fans up here think. They think they're going to the Super Bowl this year. They're crazy. The Giants – the same way you feel about the Dolphins is how I feel about the Giants. That is my most hated team in the league is the Giants. Probably more because of Giants fans than the actual Giants team, but needless to say, I got the Jets coming in first. I got the Jets winning the division. I got the Bills coming in second because I think there's been some hits with the Dolphins. Not so much because the Bills are that much better than the Dolphins. I just trust the Bills to be healthier than the Dolphins this year. I feel losing Ramsey for a portion. Who knows what's going to happen with that quarterback? One little hit could be the end, and I don't know. Where I like Mike White in that offense, he didn't really show too well in the preseason. So maybe he's not what we thought he was when he was in New York. So I got the Jets coming in first, Bills coming in second, Dolphins coming in third, Patriots coming in fourth. I do have all 3 teams making the playoffs like you as well though. Just that I have the Jets making it a division winner, Bills and Dolphins making it as the wild card. And so that's my take on that. Nigel, what's your take on the AFC East?
Ooh, it's going to be a shootout, boy. And now listen, I might throw something that's unpopular amongst my fellow podcasters here. But
he's got the Patriots coming in first.
I am going to 100% Bill Belichick the Patriots first. Hell no. I think the real Wudi said it first. Gene, you came in hot with the second prediction or the second word, which is chemistry. I think that is like the biggest deal, especially in this division. So I'm going to go 4-1. I'm not going to talk long on it, but I think 4, obviously the Patriots. But you're right, Gene, for sure, man. Belichick will somehow figure out how to get at least 7 wins, so the season won't be a total loss. They will show some signs of life, and they'll figure it out, I think, in the next season or the season after. But I think you're right there. I would take the over on 7. And then this is where it gets tricky.
Oh no!
I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna go Jets at 3, Miami at 2, Bills at 1. This is why. I think the Bills have one. Listen, dudes. I know. Hey, if nobody hears me on the pod on Thursday, you know why. I think that. I think the Bills have one more good run in them. I really do. I think it's going to be rough for them as well. But I think the Jets-Bills week 1 is what's going to really set the tone for both of those teams, because that is such a huge game. Like, that's week 1, man. That's such a big blowout. So I feel like people are going to come away from that game with a better understanding of who's who. Even though it's week one, there's a lot at stake in that one for me. That's what I feel. So I think that the Bills, I don't know who's going to win that game. I'm not predicting the game. I'm just predicting the division. I think the Bills still have this season. This is the last season that they'll go as high as 13-3, which was a record last year. Then I think Miami, because they just keep rising, man. They were 9-8 last year, and they just keep coming up. I think they're going to have that one. They're going to hit their peak. They're going to hit their ceiling this season. After that, I think it kind of peters off, or they just become part of the normal middle of the pack in that in that division. And then even the Jets, because they're working out this chemistry, because they have so many new factors, they're going to destroy towards the end of the season. And I think they're going to start really kicking some butt. But I think the beginning is going to be a little rough for them. Okay.
So which teams do you have making the playoffs in this division?
Ooh, so I side with you guys. I think it could be up to 3 of these teams making the division. I really think that I think the Bills will probably go. I think the Jets will go the deepest. So I think it would be Bills, Dolphins, Jets. I think the Jets will go the deepest in the playoffs. Bills will peter off. Miami's like first round, they're done. Like maybe wild card, they're done. But that's where I see it. That's how I see it.
Okay. Well, then let's switch our attention over to the AFC West.
Damn, I wish Caleb was here because we all had a different division winner. We don't have a consensus. It's a 3-way tie.
True.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I tend to think he might agree, although I know he does not like the Dolphins this year, based on some of the injury concerns as well. I'm curious if he would have them making the playoffs. But back to the AFC West, I'll go first, man. I got the Chiefs coming in first, Chargers coming in second, the Broncos coming in third, with the Raiders coming in last. I just think the Raiders are going to hit rock bottom this year. I just feel it's all coming together for them to be just a putrid team this year. They got a quarterback with injury concerns. I think Devontae Adams is going to want out. He might be get traded by week 6. We don't know yet. There's just a lot of things on that. I just see question mark after question mark in Vegas. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a good time in Vegas this year for this team. Broncos, I think, will be better than last year. Will they be that great? I don't think they'll be that great. I don't think Russell Wilson ever gets back to what he was in Seattle, but I think he'll be better than he was last year in Denver. And in the 2 playoff teams I got coming out of this division, I got the Chiefs and the Chargers coming out of this division. Chiefs are going to go deep. I got them coming in first. I got them probably winning the number one the number one seed spot. Chargers, I think they're just too talented to not make the playoffs. It all becomes an indictment on the coach. If they can't win games, it's surely to me. It's the coaching. That coaching is just horrible, and I feel like that's the only thing holding them back is Staley. But so I got the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs and Chargers making the playoffs. What say you, Nigel?
We are really close on this one. I think this might be one of the divisions where we're both like, yeah, this is the same. So Chiefs, Chargers. I want to swap. I'm not gonna. I think it's Chiefs, Chargers. I think Raiders, Broncos.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that the Broncos haven't done that much, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, they haven't really done that much to change their team and
they lost their top 2 receivers.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. So I just feel like, and to your point, I just feel like Wilson, this is it, man. I think this is the end of the road for him, which, bro, it's all good. You did great in Seattle. You had an epic run. You brought that Seattle franchise out of not even mediocrity, probably below mediocrity.
The doldrums.
To the basement, to something where you guys were eating in the dining room and you were just you were setting up the placemats. It was a fantastic run. So I just think this might be a wrap. So again, my number 1 through 4, Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos. I think the Raiders are just going to pull out just wins out of thin air. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think Jacobs he's going to, now that he's signed for the 1 year, he's going to do everything he can to get a contract somewhere else for next year. I think that he's playing for next year. He's not playing for this season.
Let me push back one point on it.
Sure.
My only concern with Jacobs this year is they're going to be playing catch up a lot, and that's where no matter how good he might be and no matter how on fire he's going to be to have a good season to get for next year's contract.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're looking at a guy that's not going to get the opportunities to run as much because they're going to be behind a lot.
Mm-hmm. You might not be wrong. But let's realize that their records were all within one win last year or one loss, right? Denver finished out at 5-12. The Raiders finished at 6-11. Yeah, thank you. So I mean, it's kind of like apples and oranges, I think, at this point. But I just feel like the Raiders will top out by one. And yeah, I'm with you. Chiefs, Chargers make the playoffs without a doubt.
I think the records will be almost identical to that. Put it back up 1 second, Patty. I got the Chiefs finishing that way. I got the Chargers finishing 11-6. I got the Broncos finishing 6-11, and the Raiders finishing 4-13. Mm-hmm. That's how I got it finishing up this year, me personally. Yeah. Wudi, what do you got?
Same exact list as you. I think the Raiders are going to be a top 5 pick. Almost, lock it in. Top 5 pick.
Lock it up.
He's got dom. All right, you got your lock in.
I just have no faith in almost anyone in that organization. Broncos, like Gene said, I think they will be better. Not great. They did not add anyone significant, but getting Javonte Williams back from his ACL tear is a great thing. And Sean Payton, we are going to see the value of coaching because, they are coming off, arguably the worst. I don't want to say the worst head coach in history because Urban Meyer exists. But, one of the worst performances as a head coach to somebody with, the pedigree of Sean Payton. And I think that alone is enough to elevate them beyond what they were. So I do have that list as the same. But I have the Chargers missing the playoffs.
Wow.
So that is, I think the big thing here.
What is it? The weakness there with LA for you? Is it the coaching?
There's nothing else.
That's right. That team is stacked. That team is stacked with
unbelievable
top players all over the place.
Yes.
That's the one thing that gives me concern is that coaching staff.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else to add to that. Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley, gotta go. So, I mean, you could say that worst coaching since Brandon Staley, and then you'd be right. So, he's the worst head coach in the league. I don't care. Nathaniel Hackett didn't have the same roster that Staley had last year.
He had a pretty good roster.
Actually, no, you're right. He had a pretty good roster. Yeah, that's
but
you're right.
Yeah, I definitely can't say Staley is the worst coach, but he's definitely bottom 10. I feel like that's not a question, but I'm trying to think of somebody. There are a lot of like new head coaches right now. We don't know about. Yeah, Carter. But of a coach that's been there multiple years, I cannot think of one that's worse than Staley right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yikes. So, all right, so let's
Todd Bowles, maybe.
Todd Bowles is a fantastic coordinator,
fantastic.
just not a head coach.
Exactly.
I feel bad because he seems like he's one of the most nice guys on the whole planet. When you see him at press conferences and stuff, he seems like such a nice guy. He's just not a head coach. I feel bad saying it. But all right, so let's turn our attention to the AFC North. To me, this is the toughest division in all of football to predict because it could really go any way. It could be the exact opposite of that for all we know. We don't. There's a lot of question marks with Cincinnati with the quarterback with the injury. I'm going to pretend like I don't know he's injured. Because he could play the whole year and be fine, right? We don't know that there's going to be an issue. I got them still coming in first, barring the injury. If there's an injury, then slide them to last. That's how competitive this division is going to be. If there is a significant injury to the quarterback to Burrow, slide him to last. But if he's able to play, I got them coming in first, Ravens in second, Steelers in third, Browns in fourth. But a very close Steelers team. I don't have any teams making the playoffs in this division other than the Bengals, the division winner. I think the Ravens and Steelers just miss out. I think the Browns brown it as they normally would every year. I feel like they're gonna brown out like they do every single year. There's something like no matter how good of a squad they have, they do something that doesn't add up to wins. I feel like you can almost say like like same old Jets, same old Browns in a lot of ways, right? No matter what they do to that team, there's always going to be something that doesn't go right for that team. So I have them finishing in last place, not with a bad record, maybe 7-10, 8-9. I have all these teams being very competitive, but I do think they beat the hell out of each other and cost themselves some wins, which is what's going to cost them to have a wild card team in the playoffs. So I got it: Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, Browns, but very close amongst all those teams as far as what they're going to do as far as overall record. Nigel, what do you got?
Ooh, this is a tough one. You know, I want to throw my bias in there aggressively.
I was going to say, you got your division.
Number one, Steelers. No, I would never. I'm also a realist. And I know that because of our situation, like I'm on the team, because of the Steelers situation, with Pickett, but an amazing roster around him, not only on the offense, but on the defensive side as well. I feel like they will do. I mean, listen, they're still 9-8 last year, so it's cool. But I will go through the 1 through 4, and then I'll give a couple reasons why. I think you're right, Gene. I think the Bengals are still a threat, and I think that they'll really slide through. They finished 12-4 last year. It's a great record, man. That's good, and they did a lot of those. They got a lot of those wins convincingly. So I'll go Bengals. This is the tricky part because I feel like, and I call it bias if you want, but I feel like the Steelers could come in second. I think they could. I feel like they've got the roster to it. They got a little bit more of the experience to them, and I feel like it's something that is doable. Then I have Baltimore, and then Cleveland will brown out again, which I want to talk about later when we start talking about some pressure and some hot seats. But I think it's Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, and now the Steelers and Ravens only missed each other by one win last year. So for me, the Steelers will make it in wild card. They'll do wild card again, like we just petered in, like the Baltimore Ravens petered in last year. So, but the Bengals will win the division. So Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, Browns.
I have them coming so close. I have the Ravens and Steelers tied at 10 wins apiece. I think Steelers have a better year than last year, but I feel like they'll just miss out just because I feel like the teams in the East will beat up on the other teams in the conference and be able to sneak in. I have them finishing with 10 wins, the Steelers, but just missing out on the playoffs. This is
a hard one, man. Like no word of a lie. Like this is a hard one on both sides of the ball. It's like, again, even with the biases that we have towards our favorite teams, realistically, it's the division, let alone tells you how this might play out or how this might play out. So it's really hard to make that prediction.
I got the Bengals 11 wins, Ravens and Steelers each coming in with 10 wins, and the Browns coming in with 8 wins.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
What about you, Wudi?
Allow me to zag.
Oh, here we go.
I was wondering who's going to be the first person to use zag.
Well, I actually had my first fantasy football draft yesterday.
Oh, dang.
I talked myself into the Lamar comeback season. I'm going full.
I have it. He's my quarterback in one of my teams too. Because of that.
I got him and Andrews, so the combo, right? Like I'm like, hey, let's go, Ravens.
Side note, I have Burrow in one of my leagues, in one of my fantasy leagues, as my keeper. Continue.
Yes,
I would do that. I get that.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense, and I just think that the Ravens to finish how high they finished last year without Lamar for like a full month, over a month of play, kind of shows you where the Ravens were at. And yeah, they lost a couple of pieces, but they gained so much on offense and didn't lose that much on defense. Where like I feel like they are actually going to be the best team in the AFC. I got them ranked as the team in the conference to get the bye. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in them. If Lamar plays a full season, look out because they got weapons around him finally, and the defense is still that defense. So I got them as number one. Now, as we said time and time again, these teams are all interchangeable. So somebody else that I'm going to believe in, that I think if they play like we've seen them play at his apex, then there's no way Deshaun Watson is missing the playoffs. So I got the Browns at number 2. They are my wild card team, right? Because I didn't have the Chargers, right? I have the Browns. So Deshaun Watson, that's just belief in what Watson can do. He had less talent in Houston. I know he had DeAndre Hopkins, but it was them two against the world. But this time he has a top 5 O-line. He has Nick Chubb. He has Amari Cooper. He has Elijah Moore. He has David Njoku with that incredible defense. Like I said, if Deshaun is Deshaun, then this is a foregone conclusion. Number 3, I have the utmost faith in TJ Watt bringing a surge back to the defense. I mean, when TJ Watt is there,
talk to him.
It's a steel curtain. It's a steel curtain. So I think the Steelers or the Chargers, one of those two teams is about to have one of the best records in NFL history and not make the playoffs. But I just feel like the Steelers are going to be right on the outside looking in, which is what we've already said, which brings me to what I guess is a surprise since you guys both have this team number 1. But the Bengals, Joey.
They're back to the Bungles. They're back to the Bungles.
Yeah, they bungling. They bungling this year. And right, like 8 wins, like everybody's saying. So it's not like a complete catastrophe. But I just feel like between, Joey Cavs or what did it say, Achilles, right? Or, whatever is going on there. And then also, this is a defense I feel the least confident in. If they are really
in that division, you make a good point. In that division, it's probably the least possible, the least positive defense in that division.
Definitely. But even if you look at the other superpowers of the conference, maybe not the Chiefs so much, but like the Jets, Bills, Dolphins, I would take all their defenses above the Bengals as well. I just feel like when you start getting into the weeds, the Chargers too, when you start getting into the weeds like that, I just feel like the Bengals are probably going to lose some steam. Like their offense will have to be immaculate in order to continue their sustained success because they haven't done enough defensively.
Okay. I get that. Now, I agree with you to an extent because I have the Bengals coming in last if Burrow isn't healthy. You have him coming in last regardless, even if he is healthy?
If he's 100%, maybe
if he holds up 17 games.
Yeah, if he plays all. But see, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's like gimpy. If he's like, I don't have faith in him being 100% in all 17 games. So I guess I am saying he's injured to an extent. If he is 100%, Joey Burr, for 17 weeks, then I probably got them as 3rd. I still don't see them taking the Browns.
Wow.
They're just a more complete team.
You've been on that Browns kick from time, guy.
I just can't trust the Browns. They have yet to earn my trust. That's really what it is.
It's just I've seen Deshaun Watson, what he's capable of doing.
Listen, there was a time I wanted him to be a Jet, like when there was that first talk about. Remember, the Jets were big everyone thought he was going to be a Jet for a minute there, right?
Yes.
In the beginning of that whole thing.
I almost custom ordered a jersey. Good thing I didn't.
But all right, so let's move over to the AFC South. Wudi, do you want to start AFC South for us?
Yeah, I think we can do this one in our sleep. Jags should be number 1.
Most people, this is the division that would put most people to sleep. So
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, that is a fact. They wrap that up. Titans, I think the Titans are underrated. Mike Vrabel always has them competitive. Their roster looks garbage, but Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, these people got plenty of juice. Like I actually think they'll be a good team. I don't think they'll lose the division by that much. And then the Texans, DeMeco Ryans, Shanahan coaching tree keeps producing, viable coaches. I think they got a decent roster. I think they have a better roster right now than better roster that fits the coach than the Colts do. And Richardson, I think, is going to make a lot more mistakes than CJ Stroud. So I got Texans and Colts.
I got to go a little differently. I think we're all going to be agreeing with number 1, right? Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to be number 1, I think, for all of us. That's the only team I have with a winning record in this division. Everyone else I have with a losing record.
Same.
I'm going to go Houston in 2nd. I think they're going to surprise a few people this year. I think they have a cornerstone on offense and a cornerstone on defense, and I think they're going to surprise people that aren't ready for the Texans this year. So I got them coming in 2nd. Now, again, not a winning record, 7 wins max, but I do have them coming in 2nd place. Then I go Tennessee because of the coaching and because of some of the talent that they do have there. I believe that you're right. They can't be. They're going to win a few ball games. I could see them tying with Houston with 7 wins apiece. And the Colts, who I do love Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be really good once they coach him up, but it's going to take more than the first year to coach him up. So I do have the Colts coming in last, which is probably good for them. You know what? Gives them another high pick to build around. I think there's a good future in Indy. Right? I like the coaching staff. I like the quarterback. I don't know if I'd start him from day one. You have Gardner Minshew. What did you bring him in for if you weren't going to start him to groom the kid? But I got the Colts coming in last. Like their future, just obviously not ready for prime time yet. So that's what I got. I got Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, Colts. Jacksonville obviously make the playoffs as division winner. Everybody else with a losing record. 7 or 8 wins max for Houston. 7 or 8 wins max for Tennessee. Colts probably finishing with about 3 or 4 wins. Nigel, what do you got?
Yeah, man, it sounds like we're in the same boat, Gene. I mean, we're paddling up that same river, baby. It's like, yeah, Jacksonville for sure. I do like the Texans as well, so I agree with you as well. I think they're going to make a huge leap from their 3-13 status last year. 3-13-1 last year. Ties are so bananas in football. Anyway, so, it's just such a weird feeling when you watch a game. You're like, is this going to end in a tie? And
it's like kissing your sister, man. Stop. I can't. I hate a tie.
Yeah, it's not the same. But anyways, but yeah, I agree with you though, man. I think that division is the same. Jaguars will win out. And again, I think we've all said it. I like the look of the Jaguars, man. I really do. I think that they're a team with not so much no-namers, but just a team with a couple high-profile kids. And then after that, it's just like people who just want to hustle and make that franchise something great. So yeah, Jaguars, Texans. The Texans have always been my second favorite team. I don't know why. I mean, they play a style of game that's very similar to the Steelers, and I think that's probably why, and they've always done that, and maybe the Watt connection, I guess, as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so I have them second. Tennessee is always Tennessee. When it comes down to, the last half of the season, they start surprising people, even though they've been in it the whole time, and then they start pulling out wins. You're like, oh, my gosh, Tennessee's in town. And then the Colts, yeah, they're going to struggle. It might be a rough watch. It might be a really rough watch. They'll struggle, so they'll finish in the bottom of that. But and only Jacksonville makes it out unscathed.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We got the same. Yeah, we have the same order. Listen, the Colts, I think, are going to be good in a few years. They're just going to build that team up. They got to build around that quarterback, and then I think they'll be there. Luckily, they have some nice security blankets, some nice wide receiver options for the kid. Again, agree with me or disagree with me? Is it too early to start the kid? Would you guys start him?
I feel like we've talked about this 3 different times, and each time we say the same thing, but I'll say it again.
Say it again.
You know what, Gene? I think it is too early. I would have started Gardner Minshew, and then you say yes, you agree, and then Nigel says, "Oh, throw him into." Well, you know what? I won't even. Nigel, how do you feel about it?
No, throw him in. You're right. Throw him into the fire. You're not wrong. You took the words right out of my mouth, literally and figuratively.
I don't agree with that.
Only because I feel like, and I understand, it makes sense. Gardner Minshew's there. It makes so much sense. I think what the Colts are trying to capitalize is on their first round pick. They want to do something different for this franchise, because after Luck left, it just left them in such a disarray that they didn't even know what to do with themselves. Like it's actually, you watch them and you're like, this team doesn't even know what they're doing. Like you watch it, and Jonathan Taylor's out there. He's trying to do his, like, it's just, there's so many things that this franchise needs to turn around immediately that's the only answer that they have right now, which is let's just throw him to the wolves, and hopefully he walks out there. He comes back the other side, because the fans
can ruin a quarterback though if that team's not ready.
You're taking a risk. This is a massive risk. High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
High reward is literally just the people coming back, the fans and the team having trust in their leader, their quarterback, and the franchise owners and runners and the coaching staff. That high risk, high reward, man.
The problem with it, I think, is they anointed him the starter like about a month before camp even opened. That's the problem. Yeah. Like if he would have came into camp and beat Gardner Minshew, then I'd say, okay, listen, all right, he beat Gardner Minshew. He deserves to start. The problem was they anointed him the starter before camp even opened. And that's where I'm like, you can't just – I've seen the Jets do it time and time again, hand a quarterback the keys without them being ready, and you wish they didn't. I just feel like they did that here. And so I hope they don't ruin the kid, because I think this kid's got immense talent, and I'm really excited to see what he can do in the future.
Let me me ask you dudes this. I know this isn't conventional. The Saints tried to do it a couple seasons ago. But what if they kind of run a quarterback by committee? Kind of. Because I know that you need to get into that rhythm. You need to get into that flow if you're that quarterback. But knowing that Gardner has that experience, Richardson obviously doesn't. What if you just threw that out there for the media to eat up? Yes, we're putting Richardson as number one.
I don't think quarterback by committee works. Like they always say, if you have two number one quarterbacks, then you don't have any number one quarterback, right? That's kind of like that little catchphase.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of maybe having certain packages that allows Richardson to come in and then do something. I don't know if I'd have it. Well, all right. I don't know if I do it by committee in the sense of Richardson gets this drive, then the next drive goes to Minshew.
Yeah, and more what you're saying with packages.
Okay, with certain packages, that might work. You bring them in a little slowly. You run some trick plays, some gadget plays. That I think I could see. What about you, Wudi?
I think that's also like a slippery slope, right? That's why Lamar didn't want to run at the combine because he's a quarterback. You know, there was a lot of talk at that time of, should we convert him to a receiver? You know, what is Lamar gonna what position is Lamar gonna get
Polian,
drafted?
the Bill Polian who was that idiot that basically was like that he can't be a quarterback. But meanwhile, it's like, well, he's a pretty freaking good quarterback. He won an MVP.
yeah.
And let me say, Bill Polian. I know some people saying I can't believe he just called Bill Polian an idiot. The guy who built the Bills in the '90s and then built that good Carolina team. Here's why he's an idiot. He did build some good teams. He's the same guy that also said years after we knew Tom Brady what he was they had a first-round grade on Tom Brady and then still didn't draft him because they didn't need a quarterback with the Bills. Bottom line is this. If you thought he was that good and he was there in the 5th round, you would have drafted him. You thought he was a first-round talent. You freaking idiot. I used to be a big fan of Bill Polian's until he actually came out of his face and said that they had him as a first-round talent all those years ago and everybody else missed him. They did not have – do you remember this coming out a few years ago, Wudi?
I don't think I've seen this, and it definitely didn't hit me the way that it has hit
It affected me immensely because I used to think this guy was a super talented guy. Listen, he was the GM that I would have loved to have. But don't tell me that you had Tom Brady with a first-round grade, and the only reason why you didn't draft him, the only reason why you didn't draft him is because you didn't need a quarterback. If you have a first-round grade on somebody and he's there in the 5th round, and you know that, and you don't need a quarterback, you still draft him at that point because you know you can flip him later on. It was a lie, and he's just an idiot. Let's just move on. Now I'm done.
I'm so sorry.
No, I like this, Gene. I like this.
I'm coming down. I have a cold. I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice. So I'm a little medicated right now. It's also why I can't speak as well as I would like to speak.
Don't blame it on the drugs, man. Don't blame it on the drugs. But I want to say this before we walk away from it, because I know Wudi had mentioned it a bunch, and then Gene, you had just kind of touched on it a little bit when you were talking about Lamar Jackson. Lest we not forget that the Ravens right now are the only team, and I think the first team in NFL history to have 4 black quarterbacks. 4 of them.
It's impressive.
Like the starter, and then the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, all black. So we're talking about Lamar Jackson. I don't know who goes in second, but it's like Tyler Huntley. Josh Johnson, and Anthony Brown. Like it's
one of those guys won't be there after the next couple of days, I'm sure.
Yeah, 1,000%. But as it is right now, they have 4 on their depth chart, which I thought was pretty wild.
Cool. Wow, cool.
And also kind of on brand for Baltimore, you know.
Right. Is Baltimore Chocolate City or is it Washington?
Oh, that's an American question. I feel like it's Baltimore though, but I'm not sure.
I think it's Baltimore. You know what? We got to ask Caleb when he comes back because Caleb knows.
Caleb would know for sure.
He's used the reference before, and I'm trying to think, was it Washington or is it Baltimore? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it's Baltimore. So it makes sense. All right, guys, let's talk about rookie of the year, NFL rookie of the year. We're going to do offense and defense. Wudi, who do you have as your offensive? We'll start with the offense. Who do you have as your offensive rookie of the year?
I
feel like this should be a no-brainer.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say the name that I wrote down. Bijan Robinson.
There you go.
You know, quarterbacks usually struggle. Running backs have a learning curve as well. It's not, just grab the ball and run. But
that's all it is. But that's the end of that.
It's not. But Bijan, he's just Well, I literally can't even say this confidently because we thought that Kyle Pitts was about to take over the league, and Arthur Smith still hasn't used him correctly in the years that he's had. Man, it's not Pitts. Like, it's not like Pitts is dropping things. He's just not used. But it looks like, based on preseason and all that Bijan will be used. So if he's used, then and the media already loves him. I feel like the media has already given him the award. So all he has to do is play, and he'll get the award.
You're giving him the award as well. So see, I can't even see how like I'm slurring I noticed that I'm slurring my speech, and I'm telling you it's because of this medicine I'm on. I'm taking some Mucinex and some other stuff. I took NyQuil yesterday. My speech is slurring a little bit. So I apologize in advance, or maybe not advance, but midway through. I apologize. 40 minutes in, it took me to admit that my speech is slurring a little.
Yeah.
I'm not drunk. I assure you I am not drunk. It's medicine.
The more you talk about it, the deeper the hole gets, man. Like, you're fine. Yeah, I'm not drunk. Wait, nobody thought that.
I agree. I got Bijan Robinson. Again, I agree with you. I agree with what Wudi said. It's hand him the ball and let him run. They're going to hand this kid the ball. I think they're going to give him the chance to run the ball a lot. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think they're going to be up in some games. I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams. I think this is one of those dark horse teams that nobody expects to really be like a blockbuster team. But I think they're going to win a bunch of games. And I think we'll talk about it when we do the NFC teams, but they could be a surprise contender for a postseason spot. I love what they've done to this offense. I think Ritter makes a step up. I think all that's going to be what helps Bijan Robinson get the Rookie of the Year nod in the for the offensive side of the ball. So I go with Bijan Robinson. Nigel, what do you got?
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to zag on him.
Here we go.
Zag on him. I'm going to stay in the same position, but I'm going to say Jamar Gibbs of the Lions.
Wow.
I feel, but I'm with you guys 100%. I feel like as much as I love a good quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback that can make a splash in the NFL, that is so hard to do. It's so hard on a consistent basis, like for the whole run of the season, so hard. And especially to make that kind of a stance or pronouncement or proclaiming that you can be Rookie of the Year at quarterback. That's very hard to do. Shout out to all the ones that have done it, but I digress. I think that the Lions, they have arguably top 5 offensive line. I think that's going to help them with this season. That's going to help Mr. Gibbs get some yardage. I know they got a tough schedule ahead of them. The first couple of weeks, I think that it's not too bad. I can't remember who they're playing right off the top, but I think that will help, and I think that's a big movement for him, a big push for him. So I'm going to go Jamar Gibbs.
I do like that pick. I do think he's going to get a ton of votes. He's going to be on a winning team, but I also think I think the fact that Atlanta is going to win this year is what's going to help Bijan. Mm-hmm. I think Bijan's just going to be a little bit more explosive out of the backfield, catching passes and whatnot. So that's why I went the other way. But I do agree. Gibbs is definitely going to get his share of the votes as well. So that's a good spot. All right, defensive rookie of the year. Wudi, lead us off with defensive rookie of the year.
Will Anderson. You get a defensive stud going to a defensive coach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty nice how that lines up, tee it up. So that's what I got.
I agree, and for the same reasons that you just said, it's just like running backs. Just grab the ball and run. Hey, see the guy with the ball, tackle. Hike, tackle the guy with the ball.
That's still not how it works. Man. I know. Still not how it works.
No, listen. I think Anderson is everything you want in a cornerstone piece for your defense. There's nothing about it. I see no bad marks on this kid. I love this kid coming out. I think he's going to be. I think not that he's going to change the game, but I think he's going to change the defensive culture in Houston, along with his head coach. He's going to be a mouthpiece for the head coach there, as that team now evolves into becoming a good team. I think that we're going to see this team just get better and better each year, just because I feel like they are headed in the right direction, and I think he's going to be a main cog in that for that reason. I have Anderson coming in first with the defensive player of the year.
Thank God you're going to say Will McDonald, because I don't even know what I would have done.
Well, first of all, Will McDonald might be pretty good. He looked
out of here.
Whoa,
why'd you start? Wudi, why'd you start?
Did he not?
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my bad. That's completely.
Wudi, did he look good in preseason?
Did he look good against everybody's backup? Yes. Every backup lineup in the league.
I'll take it. You're a self-loathing Jets fan. I know you are. You're a self-loathing Jets fan. It's like, you ever see the episode of was it Curb Your Enthusiasm where the guy calls Larry David a self-loathing Jew? You are a self-loathing Jets fan.
That was like a whole season, but no, I'm just a realist. I'm a realist.
Fair enough. Nigel Downer, what say you?
I'm going to complete the sweep. Will Anderson Jr., there's no doubt in my mind. And I think to further that, what he's going to, first of all, this is a very nice looking gentleman. He's a good looking dude. He's just, if you see his profile pic, just smiling from ear to ear, just happy to be in the league. The guy's coming from amazing pedigree in Alabama. Yep. It's just like Roll Tide. It's just, this kid is going to make such an impact. And he's just going to bring the Houston Texans back to the days of old when they were defensive minded. And they really, really took people to task. And it was tough. Once the defense was coming up, you knew this was going to be a problem. And I think he's going to lead that charge. And like you said, Gene, he's going to switch things up a little bit for not only the culture in the Houston, not only culture with the Houston Texans, but in that division. I feel like I was going to say one more thing, but I cannot remember what that is. Yeah, so I think Will Anderson. I'm going to stop.
You look very evil.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is going to be good, and I just kind of got lost in my own words.
All right, so we got our rookies of the year. You know what? We'll save MVP for last of the show. We're going to have a nice quick show today, but let's talk about hot coaches. We won't talk about hot coaches. Sal's a pretty hot guy, I guess, right? But we're going to talk about hot seats for the coaches. See, I told you guys, it's this medication. I just called Robert Saleh, coach of the Jets, hot. Wudi he's like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Go. Can I get out of this? Coaches on hot seats. Now, I know, Wudi, you were excited to have this category because we talked about this off the show. So let's start with you. What coaches for you are on the hot seat to start off the season? Which is, and also, is it fair to be on a hot seat right now or unfair? Go ahead.
Definitely fair. Definitely fair.
Good. I agree.
All right. People, get hired for this job for a reason. And everybody that is on a hot seat right now, they're not doing their job to some degree, I think there are quite a few coaches. I obviously don't want to steal, names. I'll say three. I have 5 written down, but there's so many different names. Ron Rivera, unfortunately, I like Ron Rivera as a coach, but new ownership, I think they're trying to go into a new direction. So I think they even told him, like, you have a extremely short leash. Josh McDaniel, I think he actually has completely destroyed the Raiders franchise. They were actually on the up and up, and Derek Carr was looking like he might actually be their franchise guy. And then all of a sudden, Derek Carr is shipped. Josh Jacobs has beef with them, and Devontae came there to play with Derek Carr, and the coach comes in and sends him away. So McDaniels he's turning chicken salad into chicken shit, and it should be the other way. Should be, but there's only one answer. There's only one answer to this question. I hope we all have it, but if we don't have it,
should we all say that at the same time? Should we all say it at the same time on the count of 3?
It's like garbled mush.
Okay, on the count of 3, I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1, and we'll say it at the same time. Here you go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Kevin Staley. Oh, wow.
What?
Okay.
What?
Okay.
We'll get to those in a minute.
Stefanski is number 2. But Brandon Staley, let me tell you something a little bit about Brandon Staley. Allow me.
Preach. I agree. Preach.
Down memory lane. In 2020, Justin Herbert broke the NFL record for most touchdowns by a rookie QB. He only played in 15 games, and he broke that record. He is one of 4 rookies in NFL history to have over 4,000 yards in their rookie season. Brandon Staley comes in. They build an offensive line. They build a defense for Justin Herbert, and they bring in Staley and say, hey, you have one of the best young QBs in the league. You have a great offensive line, a great defense. Let's go win some games. Let's go make the playoffs. So at 9-7, 2021, all they have to do is not lose. They can win They can tie. Just don't lose to the Raiders, who have the same record. And what does Staley do? They're down by 5 on their own 18-yard line. The boy goes for it on 4th down, 18 yards away. 4th down, 80 yards away. Now they're down 12. Now the miracle that is Justin Herbert is able to bring them back. He ties it up. Now they're in overtime. And all they have to do is not lose. Time is running out. And it's like, oh, it looks like we're about to tie. The Raiders have no more timeouts. Time is running out. They're pretty far away. Brandon Staley calls a timeout. He's on defense. He calls a timeout and allows the Raiders to progress and kick a game-winning field goal, and the Chargers miss the playoffs. All because of Brandon Staley. In the post-game conference, every single member of Raiders Nation was like, we needed that timeout. Thank you, Brandon Staley. That's not an exaggeration. That is literally what they said. You can play back the tape. So now, next season, they get Khalil Mack. They get J.C. Jackson. We're going to beef up this defense even more. All right? You'll have no excuses. Don't worry, Staley. We're here. So they actually make the playoffs now.
Yes.
They're up 27-0.
Yes.
27-0. Woo! We're looking over to that next round. But Brandon Staley, with his coaching, allows the 3rd largest comeback in the history of the NFL playoffs, and them boys is sitting on the couch again, despite having one of the
27-point lead at halftime.
Justin Herbert, no QB in the history of the league has thrown more touchdowns for more yards every single first 3 years in the NFL passing stat you can think of. Justin Herbert owns, and yet he does not own a playoff win because Brandon Staley is trash. How he's still a coach?
27-point lead. You should have been fired in the locker room.
Yes. Yes. How is he? I don't understand how he's still employed.
Could you imagine if we were Charger fans, how upset we'd be? We're not even Charger fans, we're upset.
This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. All of it true. All of it true.
All I know is this. I pray that they get into the AFC Championship game against my Jets. That way my Jets have a chance. Then I know, all right, we can actually have an off game and still make it to the Super Bowl.
True.
I can't even. Mine is the same pick, Staley. I also had McDaniel Rivera as my 3. I don't have him on the hot seat, but the seat could get hot very quickly with a bad start, and I'm going to say Robert Saleh.
Definitely.
Everything with me included. Expectations are high. You have a short window to win this championship. If they come out the gate and they're 1-5, woo, his butt's going to be a little hot. It's going to be a little warm. That's going to be a hot seat. But I have Staley. Listen, Staley's on the hot seat since the minute that clock struck 0 last year on their final playoff game. You can't blow a 27-point lead in the playoffs. You can't do it in the regular season. Forget about it. You can't do it in week 6. You're doing it in the playoffs. In the playoffs. You blow a 27-point lead. You got to be kidding me that this guy should not have a job. My dog right now is nervous right now. She's staring in the corner. I think she thinks she did something wrong. Zoe, you're a good girl, Zoe. Zoe, come here.
Zoe's like, no, I don't want it.
Come here, baby.
No.
She's upset. She thinks, or either that or she's like, no, you're right. Staley sucks. That's really what it comes down to.
Could be that too.
If he was my coach, I'd have no hope. He sucks.
I would literally be picketing outside the headquarters if that was my coach. Like, he needs to leave. But Staley cannot stay over here. Get him out of this organization.
Stay. Now, Nigel, you had Kevin Stefanski, correct?
Yeah.
You go ahead first. No.
Yeah. Okay. However, he's not. I didn't do them as 1 and 2, but like
a group.
I only have 2 that I wanted to talk about because I know Wudi would come with a whole list, and I'm like, I gotta pick somebody obscure because Woody's gonna pick everybody. But the two coaches I do have is Kevin Stefanski, as I just mentioned. I'll give you the reasons in a second, but also Mike McCarthy.
You know what?
Yeah.
Right, Cora. I didn't even think to put McCarthy on there.
Yeah,
literally, those are my 2 and 3.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about Stefanski first. I feel like both of these gentlemen have a lot of the same cues as to why they're on the hot seat. And the thing is, on paper, they have the most talented teams. And Dallas only got better this offseason. Like, it's ridiculous how good they just got within like a month and a half. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, okay, well, they're legit in the mix. However, I digress. Let's talk about Stefanski. I mean, this guy pulled the Browns out of like irrelevancy, right? Like, I mean, they were just kind of nobodies for a very long time. They were just the Browns. Like, literally, everybody was poo-pooing on them because they were just the Browns. And it was just, either you go to their place or they come to yours. It was almost a guaranteed W. And that was for the past few seasons. Next thing you know, he's got weapons, and it's like on paper. Wudi said it early in this pod when we started doing this pod. It's like on paper, this is one of the most dominant teams. Should be offensively one of the most dominant teams in the league with the weapons that they have. How is this not happening? And every time you look at the record, like they lost again. So now you have a team over the past few seasons that has definitely underperformed. All right, they have pieces on their roster that have excited the dog pound. I mean, they got Chubb, they got Watson, they got so many offensive weapons, and now this is we're not sure, but this should be the one entire season with Deshaun Watson. That's expected. That's what's supposed to happen. And if he can't work with that, if Stefanski can't make that happen, then that's a wrap, man. That is a wrap. Like that's for me, that's probably now I'm talking myself into him being my number one, I guess, if we're gonna pick. So that's my beef with Stefanski. And the guy's even in my division, and I'm still like, and I'm not talking like get him out just because I'm a Steelers fan, but I'm like, get him out because he's got amazing talent on that team, and they should have been finishing 1 or 2 or at least 2 for the last 2 seasons minimum. It's ridiculous. McCarthy. Now, we're talking about the Cowboys because we always just talk about the Cowboys. The Cowboys are who we thought they were. Now, Jerry Jones, he continues to love and has faith in McCarthy, but I'm telling you, man, McCarthy is now making the play calls this season, and if he doesn't do a good job with the weapons that they've now acquired, that's another dude who could get gone in the offseason. It's crazy. The roster's super talented now. I'm not even a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I'm like, gotta recognize game. You gotta just know what you're messing with here, right? And if they fall short of the playoffs, or if they're one and done, man, so is McCarthy.
I agree.
McCarthy is a good call. I didn't even think McCarthy, but partly because I think that he's going to get a little time. I don't think Jerry Jones is the type of guy that's going to fire a guy like 7 games into a season.
Yeah. You're right.
And Stefanski, I didn't have him either. Well, I think they're going to be okay early on. I think they're going to be one of those teams that's going to fall apart as the season goes.
But still, you're making my point, right? Because
I don't think he makes it after this. I'll put it this way. I don't think Stefanski makes it after the. I think this is his last year in Cleveland. I think Cleveland makes a change.
Like regardless, you're thinking
like
playoffs.
They
change regardless.
Make a change.
Yeah. So as you've seen every year, 3 years of Stefanski, each year is worse than the other. Started off hot, 11-5, right? But then not much since. That was when Baker Mayfield when they thought Baker Mayfield might have been their coach.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, let's head over to our last topic of the day. We'll go to NFL MVPs. You know what? Last year when I picked my MVP, I didn't go with the obvious choice. I feel like every year is the obvious choice, right? I got burnt last year by not picking the obvious choice of Mahomes. I'm not going to get burnt 2 times. Not like ODB. I'm not going to get burnt 2 times. I'm going to get burnt once. Last year, I thought for sure it was going to be that kid out in LA, the Chargers. I loved Herbert. I love him again this year. But you know what? I just can't ever. I got to go chalk on this. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's the easy, obvious pick, Mahomes. But it's the easiest, obvious pick for the obvious reason that he is just always the best player on the field whenever he plays football. He's just good at football. He's just that much better at football than anybody else. So I got to go with the easy one. That's why I just let me go first because I really know nothing else to offer other than saying it's Patrick Mahomes because how could it be anybody else but Patrick Mahomes? So that's my pick for MVP of the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. Wudi, I feel like you're making a face right now. Like I feel like you're going to disagree. You're very serious and pensive for a second. Who do you have as your MVP this year?
I love Patrick. He is far and away the best quarterback in the league. So he's obviously always a contender. I don't think we are going to see a repeat MVP for a little bit of time. So I do not have Patrick as my pick, even though he will certainly get some votes. They usually call this award, the best QB on the best team award. And I think that's what it's going to be. So my pick for the 2023 NFL MVP.
Oh, wow. You're really going to go there.
Yeah, I love this.
Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
I mean, I've been saying the Eagles were going to be the best team in the league since the draft. And Jalen Hurts, what he's been able to do year in and year out, if you look at his year progression, he has taken leaps each year, like literal leaps and bounds each year. So this is just the next year. Gene has a question. So
do you think he takes another huge leap, or is this who he is now?
I think he can.
Who he is now is still MVP. Because who he is now is MVP quality too. It's MVP caliber still. Does he take another leap on top of even that though?
I think he does. Okay.
I
think the reason why, because the Eagles, I believe, had a better record than the Chiefs last year, but like Patrick was Patrick, and there was like Jalen still wasn't, his passing numbers still weren't great. I think his passing numbers take another big leap, and then his rushing kind of stays where it's at. He's had the same rushing amount. It's just that, his TDs, shot up, his rushing TDs. Mm-hmm. But maybe he wants to stay a little bit healthier. So he stays a little bit more in the pocket and we see better passing numbers. And I think that's what the media likes to see in order to get that MVP vote. So I think, just Hurts' intangibles, what he does, who he is as a leader, right? We all know it. We all see it. And if this team is as good as I think they'll be, where we're talking about, under 4 losses, then they're going to be looking at that team. And if Jalen produces another season like he just did, but like I just said, adds to it, passing in the pocket more, so he gets more yardage, more TDs. He's much more comfortable with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, everybody coming back. I mean, the sky is truly the limit for this young man. I think he will be the MVP.
Cool. Nigel.
Well, gentlemen, we have come to an end of another fantastic pod, and I will finish this one out by saying not only do I have Patrick Mahomes, not only do I have Jalen Hurts as my 1 and 2, they could be interchangeable. I think you guys put up very good arguments. Patrick Mahomes is the epitome and the resurgence of what we would call sandlot football, where he's just slinging the ball sidearm. People have done it before.
Yeah,
he's not the first guy, but he's the first guy to do it efficiently all the time. He's the first guy to make it look like it's easy when it is very hard to do. He's the first guy to make a broken play look like it might have been planned, or at least look like everybody's on the same page. Hey, we all know this play's broken, but we're with our leader, our fearless leader, and we'll make it happen. And he makes it look amazing. Other teams really flounder in that area. And we're talking about Jalen Hurts. Agreed. This guy took the Eagles, who I bet against in the Super Bowl. Whew, thank goodness I did. But during the season, every day I had a student that I was teaching. I was like, your Eagles aren't a thing. And every week she'd come back and be like, yes, they are, because they got another W. And Jalen Hurts was leading the charge. Huge shout out. So I agree with you too. But I'm going to finish out on this. I have a dark horse in this race. That gentleman's name is Christian McCaffrey. I think because now he's going to put in a full season, God willing that he's healthy the whole season.
He hasn't been healthy in a long time.
You're not wrong. And I feel like, San Fran has a ton of weapons. Like we all know, I don't have to name them all. We all know this. Sam Darnold and the rest of the crew. Can't believe I said that. Anyways, he's got the crew, but I think with his running back prowess, a great offensive line behind him, the guy's got hands that can catch anything you throw at him. He is a real grinder. I feel like he could be in contention. If he's not up there in votes as in number 2, he'll definitely be in number 3. Because I think he's that good that he could get Dark Horse MVP.
He is that good. I'm rooting for him.
He's a video game. He's a cheat code. So
so that's my 1, 2, 3.
So guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode. So guys, if you liked what you've seen and you like what you're hearing, hit that like and subscribe and whatnot, and join us every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And let's talk about our last words of the day. James, Wudi.
Batteries, they are our life force. Don't forget to recharge them or they run out.
I have my internal battery. I think I need to recharge. That's a great last word. I appreciate that one, like, immensely. And if you have, for those counting, I used the word immensely like 5 times in this pod. Have you noticed that? I never used that word. Today I definitely did not have a talent. When I said it last time, I was like, wow, you used that word a lot today. Nigel, last words of the day.
I want to give a shout out to all the strangers out there. And what I mean by that is I had 2 amazing conversations this morning, one starting at 9:30 a.m. and the other one was at 10:30 a.m. The first one was a person that worked retail at Toys R Us. So that would have been 10 because they don't open until 10.
You guys still Toys R Us is in Canada?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're thriving up here. I know. Years. Yeah. Oh, maybe thriving's good. I mean, they're getting my money. So not with everything, but okay, I digress. But a lovely young lady there. You know, we went through the the paces, which is like, hey, how are you? But she asked me how I am. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I said, how are you? She's like, I'm super good. And I'm like, I'm sorry, super good? She's like, yeah, you know, I had a great sleep. I had a fantastic breakfast. You know, I love working with the staff that's here today. You know, what's there to complain about? And I was like, wow. And I took that energy, speaking of batteries, I took that energy, inserted that because I felt like I was a little droney this morning. And I took that with me, came home. There was a rap on the door. Of course, I was expecting a package. Surprise, surprise, more hats. And the postman, who I had multiple conversations with now because we found out that we were both, of Caribbean descent, he directly, me through my parents. And we just went off for at least 5 minutes just talking about how we're healthy, people we know are healthy. We wish nothing but healthiness for everybody else, people that we don't know. We understand that circumstances are different for everybody, but the sun is shining. Let's do our best to take that in and take it with us and pass that on to the next person. And I tell you, like I said, it was almost a 5-minute conversation. And then he left, and I was like, wow, that changed my whole day. And by this time, it was 11 o'clock. I was like, all right, we're tackling the day with nothing but positivity, sunshine, and happiness. So that's my last words. Oh, and I got to run to the mall now because I got to pick up another hat.
I love it. Guys, my last words of the day is if you're feeling tired, go recharge your batteries like Wudi said, and enjoy the day like Nigel has just said. Think of all the positive things in the day. Guys, have a great day, a better tomorrow. We'll see you on Thursday.
Peace, y'all.
That's the pop off for today, folks. Thank you to all of our listeners, as well as our producers, Patty Puddles and Fareed Kameo. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to hear what these hooligans will pop off about next.